Joining us now with more is James Freeman of the Wall Street Journal, who joins us from New York. Republican Congressman Jim Jordan is here in the studio, as is Democratic strategist Scott Bolden. Congressman.
Yep.
Your sense on this. Now, the Democrats are saying this is not a big deal. This is the president being engaged on the subject of Russian collusion and interference in the election, which a president of the United States should be informed about.
You got to take it in context. This is September 2nd. Remember, July 5th is the day they say we're not going to charge Clinton. Comey does his now famous press conference and say no charges will be brought. Later that same month, Peter Strzok, the same guy who ran the Clinton investigation, opens the Russia-Trump investigation. 2 weeks later, August 14th, we have the text message from Strzok and Page where Peter Strzok says we need an insurance policy in case the American people actually make Donald Trump president. And then 2 weeks after that, September 2nd, they say POTUS needs to know everything we are doing. So take it in context. I think it raises lots of concerns, lots of suspicion. That's why we need to look into it and find out exactly what's going on.
Scott.
Well, listen, Barack Obama's not walking through that White House door. He's a private citizen. And the mere fact that you have dates, you have these details, it all amounts to conjecture. Doesn't amount to anything definite. You can look into it if you want, but we got a Russian investigation as to whether Russia meddled in our elections and whether Donald Trump connected to that, had any collusion or had anything to do with that investigation. We ought to be focused on that. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, that ought to be the focus. These dates and these possibilities and conjecture are a waste of time, Laura.
Here's the broader context. The broader context is you have all these text messages where they say Trump is awful, Trump shouldn't win, he should lose 100 million to zero.
Doesn't mean the investigation is
bias and
tainted
animus
at all.
against him is
It means they had a political view, but doesn't mean it's tainted. And even the Pfizer warning, the memo, doesn't mean anything's tainted.
It's not just bias. They took action.
Let's get James Freeman in here. James, you hear the discussion. The spin today from the Democrats was this is easily explained because the president should be aware of any efforts to investigate, as the chief executive officer of the government, investigate a Russian effort to meddle in the election, regardless of what political party is involved. Your response?
Well, it does sound like progress if Democrats are acknowledging that the FBI, the Justice Department, do report to the president, that they're not an authority unto themselves. But I think it really does get to this question of who did authorize going to a judge and getting a warrant to spy on the political opposition with an amount of evidence that really would not pass muster at our newspaper and really in any professional newsroom. And so now the question is, you mentioned the Obama statement on your program a few years ago. It's quite a distance from I never talked to the FBI director about pending investigations to not only did he talk, but he wanted to know everything they were doing. And I think now the question for Mr. Obama is, did you realize this evidence was so thin? Did he know what they were doing going to the judge in the FISA court with this politically generated material?
Well, a couple things here. Yeah, well, I think it is wild to think that in the middle of a heated presidential election cycle, with the Justice Department, the FBI, ready to spy on an American, not to go to the president. See, I think that would be weird not to say, look, yes, we're about to do this. We thought we should give you a heads up. And go to the president and say, this is what we're putting together. We think you should be apprised of this. Do you think this is okay?
Maybe.
I just think
what's inappropriate about that?
Did they tell him the full story? Your previous segments, the DNC and the Clinton campaign hire Steele to produce the dossier, and they also told him what to put in the dossier. So did they tell him the whole story?
Well, what was in the dossier? Exactly. I don't know. Or who paid for the dossier? Probably not. Scott, and then I got to play something.
One time, I'd love to come on this show or any show and debate the GOP about facts, not conjecture, about facts, not guessing. We don't even know whether Barack Obama even asked for that information. You're relying on the text of Lisa Bass.
Well, they're contemporaneous, and you know, Scott, you're a lawyer as I am. Contemporaneous, recordings, whether it's in text messages or vocal recordings, text messages are quite reliable in court because they're contemporaneous. There's no reason for him to lie about. It's no reason for him or her to say either of them to say. He wants to know everything. Why would they say that? If the president didn't want to know everything, that's an odd thing to.
That's how they're processing it. He may have said, "What about the briefing?"
Obama's proxy, and I'm going to call him a proxy, Eric Holder, was on another network tonight with Rachel Maddow, and I want the congressman to respond. Let's watch.
The real problem here is the president. The president going after named career people, the president saying things about the integrity of those two institutions, the Justice Department, the FBI. No other president has ever said those kinds of things, conducted himself in that way, and he's doing long-term harm. I think any one of my kids would make a better president than Donald Trump.
No, that's hilarious, Eric.
No other FBI has taken a campaign opposition research document, taken it to a secret court to get a secret warrant to spy on a fellow American citizen. I mean, that is unbelievable. And think about this. Comey is gone. McCabe is leaving. Jim Baker, the general counsel, has been demoted and reassigned.
Like flies.
Lisa Page has been demoted and reassigned. Peter Strzok has been demoted and reassigned. Jim Rubicki, chief of staff for James Comey, is leaving the FBI. That's who we're talking about.
All Republican-driven.
When have you ever seen the top people, the seventh floor people of the FBI, that many leave this organization? That's the problem. And that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of. And look at, and the text messages give context to the whole mindset of these people who ran the Clinton investigation and then launched and ran the Trump-Russia investigation.
Can you do that backwards? Really fast. Go.
He's got it down pat.
I mean,
listen,
come on. What was that time?
The GOP, listen, the Pfizer warrant was not, or the dossier was not the basis of that Pfizer warrant.
We're back at that.
Can't we agree with that?
You know what?
Can we just agree with that?
James, we got to get the last word to Freeman. He's stuck out there in New York.
What they led with on the application.
All right, let's go to Freeman.
Maybe not.
I think we'd like to hear from the judge. I think we'd like to hear from the judge whether that judge would have wanted the full story on FISA. And as you said, these do not look like middle management decisions. These look like pretty high-level decisions to spy on your political adversary. Let's find out who made them.
All right. You know what I want to know? I want to know who the FISA judge is. I'm sick of these secret judges able to hide away. I want to know who the judges are, and I want to know why there's no sanctions being levied against lawyers who are omitting material facts from these secret applications. I think it needs a sanction. If I were the judge, wait, where's my gavel? Here's my gavel. Ready? Sanctions. All right, guys. And then there's this, an 8-hour speech.
Judges to be disclosed?
And you're now for FISA judges? The Democrats were all against it after 9/11. You guys were all against FISA. You're now for FISA. All right. You guys hated FISA, and now you're for FISA. All right. Then there's all right, an 8-hour speech from Nancy Pelosi today on behalf of you, the American citizens? No, the Dreamers. And she wasn't the only Democrat using illegal immigrants as pawns. You've got to see this stuff to believe it. Up next.